Hi everyone, welcome. In this video, we'll discuss what is an OpenAPI and Swagger and what is the difference between them. Before stepping into the OpenAPI, let's understand what is an API. It's acronym for Application Program Interface. An API defines the allowed interactions between two pieces of software. Let's assume there is a e-commerce website. Let's assume there is a Flipkart. As we see, there will be a big billion days happens every year or every quarter. I don't know. It will happen, and recently some lakhs of iPhones were sold, right? So let's assume that I want to buy a iPhone 15 in a Flipkart through Flipkart. So I'll go to the Flipkart user interface, and in search button I'll search as iPhone 15. So when I click on enter, there is a data storage or cloud storage which is maintained by the Flipkart where iPhone 15 details will be stored. So if I click on enter, there is an API which will request the cloud and it will get the data. It will fetch the data from the storage of the Flipkart and it will show in a user interface. And you can see all the details of iPhone. So it's just like a get API. So it's just like a bridge between those two, right? Those two parties, like the user interface and the storage. So that's a simple example of API. And when you want to buy that, if you click on buy, like by giving all the payment details and addresses, if you click on that buy, there is a API which will inform the Flipkart. Like we can't go to the Flipkart store and physically we can't ask them like give the iPhone 15 and all, right? So if you click on buy now, all the details like addresses, everything will be sent to the Flipkart. They'll receive that and they will start the process. Okay, so this is how the API will perform. And let's see what is the Swagger and what is the Open API. See, first we'll discuss what is Open API. It's a specification. It's just like a document. Okay. In document, we'll write all the details, right? So in this, we'll write the details of the API. And it will provide like standard instructions to write the API. I mean, to write the details of the API. Let's assume um, we have a, okay, let's take this Flipkart example. Okay, so there will be a developer who wants to change something. Like if I click on iPhone 15 details will come, right? If I click on iPhone 1000, iPhone 1000 doesn't exist. So it should throw me an error, but it is not throwing error as of now. Let's assume that. So some developer has to change this. Like if iPhone 1000 doesn't exist, it should throw an error message like, yeah, this, your searched item doesn't exist, like that. So there is a task for this developer. So what he will do is, in Flipkart, there's lakhs of APIs, right? Lakhs of APIs, and in one API, there will be lakhs of lines of code he has to understand. Okay, luckily, let's assume you got some API. You got one API that he has to change that. He has to change so that the requirement will be fulfilled. But in that API, there is a lot of lines of code. Assume API is just like a code. Like if you're familiar with Python or Java, it's just like a code. So he has to change something in that code so that the requirement will be fulfilled. For that, he has to understand lakhs of lines. It will be difficult. So in that case, this OpenAPI specification comes into picture. This OpenAPI is a document where all the details of the API will be stored. So as soon as he finds out the API and as soon as he read the specification of that particular API, he came to know all the details of the API, like what it will do and where he has to change the where he has to add his code so that the error will be displayed. So he can picturize that easily, can picturize the API easily. So this is the open API. It's just like a document and it will provide the standards, like you have to write this, you have to follow this syntax, you have to write the structure of the API in this way, like that. So this is how the open API works. And here comes the Swagger. You shouldn't confuse with OpenAPI and Swagger. These are not same. Like OpenAPI is a specification, but Swagger is a tool. It's like a open source tool or a software that is used to write a OpenAPI. That's it. So it have some hub, inspector, editor, where we'll use that and we can easily write the OpenAPI specification. That's it. And nowadays, like recently, the Swagger has been replaced with the Open API. The Swagger name has been replaced with the Open API. Now we'll call all as Open API only, Open API tools. So that's the introduction of Open API and Swagger, and difference between them is it's a tool. Open API is a specification. So that's about this video, and in next video we'll learn why Open API. Why not other specifications? Why Open API? And some of the uses of Open API and Swagger tools. Okay, we'll see in our next video. Thank you.